Hello, and today we're here to talk about coping with mistakes. So when things go wrong or we don't feel like we've achieved what we wanted to, it's how to cope when that happens rather than go into a spiral. So the first thing to be aware of is there's no such thing as fail. The word fail actually stands for first attempt in learning, and that means that it's just the first time you've tried something, so the outcome isn't a failure, it's actually just the first time you've tried it. So it's just an outcome. It's seeing it as something that isn't a negative, it's just a learning. So every time you fail at something, it isn't actually a fail, it's just the first time that you've tried to learn it, so the first attempt in learning. And we actually learn so much from things not working out as we expected. If you think about Edison and the light bulb, he said that there were thousands of ways that he learned how not to make a light bulb, but he only needed one way to learn how to make it. So it was a case of him just practicing. That's what it is. All these other attempts are just practice attempts until something works out in the way that you hope. So it's because we've got an outcome in mind that it feels like something's gone wrong, but actually it's just raising our awareness that it isn't going wrong, it's just learning. Learning things happens all the time, and without mistakes and learning we would stagnate. So if we stayed in our comfort zone all the time, we would never grow, we would get bored. As a species we would die out, because evolution is always about constantly evolving, constantly growing and learning from things working and from them not working as well. So it's starting to reassess how we look at things that we would call a failure, because they're not, it's just learning. And lastly, thinking, well, children fall over and then they get up again when they're learning to walk, and no one ever goes up to them and says, well, that's it, you've fallen over, you'll never actually learn to walk now. Because you just wouldn't say that to a child. And the same should be true for ourselves. Remember that when something goes wrong, even if we've done it a few times, or it's not going wrong, it's just maybe not the outcome that we were hoping for. So there's no failure, it's just all learning, because each time a child falls over and has to kind of pull itself back up again on the sofa or whatever to stand up and take those few waddly steps is a step closer to being able to walk. So every time you try something, even if you don't have the outcome that you want, it is one step closer, because you're learning, oh, actually that didn't work. Trying things that way just doesn't work for me. I just need to reassess things. So it just helps you learn the whole way through. So it's really important that you don't make it your whole story. If you think that there's 1,440 minutes a day, so don't let 1 minute to hold you back from enjoying the other 1,439 minutes. So one thing that goes wrong in 1 minute, sometimes we give so much weight to that and we say, oh, that's it. Well, if I've done that wrong, then it just means that I'm just going to get everything wrong today. Just take stock and realise this is just 1 minute. I don't have to give it all that weight. Okay, it didn't work out as I wanted, but what can I learn from that? And that brings me nicely on to this little story from Home Alone 2. So I absolutely love this little story. So Kevin McAllister meets the bird woman, and the bird woman hasn't got any friends because she had her heart broken and she doesn't want to let anyone else in. And Kevin, rather wisely as a young boy, said, well, I just remember having these roller skates and I'd wanted them forever and I'd been so excited, and I barely took them out of the box. I think I tried them on once because I was so afraid of breaking them or damaging them or getting a scratch on them. And then by the time I kind of finally plucked up the courage to wear them outside, they didn't fit. So it's, don't let something become your whole story to the point where it doesn't work anymore. Like you stop yourself from enjoying your life and living your life. So like Kevin with his roller skates, he couldn't ever use them. Those amazing roller skates he was really excited about. He just put so much weight on the fact that, oh, I'm going to ruin them if I wear them, that he never got to enjoy them. So it's just going, okay, well, living is about creating experiences and enjoying life. So if something kind of doesn't work out as planned, that doesn't have to be the whole story. Because as he says to the bird lady, she'd got herself into like a little ditch of thinking that if she gave her heart to someone, it would get broken again. And he says, well, what's the point of having a heart if you're not going to use it? It might as well be broken. So don't get into a ditch of thinking that means that you can't enjoy your day. Also, with ditches of thinking, if you're thinking of, well, just imagine a field. So the first time you get to a field, you go to cross it, and there's loads of grass. It's quite high grass, so you can't see your way across the field. So the first time you go to cross it, there isn't an obvious path. So you have to kind of fight your way through the field. And then the second time you get to the field, another day, well, there still isn't really a path, but there's kind of a bit of where the grass has been broken down. So you kind of go, okay, well, that's obviously the way I went before. Let's try that again. And then every time you come back, there's more of a path forming to the point where it starts to be a ditch. And then you just get to the field, and you're not even looking at the field at this stage. Every time you come to the field, you just walk through your ditch. But the ditch is so high now, you've drawn, like really walked into the ground, and you've like dug into the ground with your walking, that you can't see either side of the ditch. So you can't actually see that you could walk any way across this field now because the grass is cut, because you're so set in what your thinking is. And that is what a ditch of thinking is. So if you think, oh, something's gone wrong, that means it's always going to go wrong. The more you have that thought, the more it has a weight, the more you carve that into your brain. So it's important to catch ourselves with these ditches of thinking, because we don't want to create a ditch when we don't need one, because it's just, as I say, just one moment, and it's just learning. Everything is learning. That's the amazing thing. So just catch yourself when you're having a ditch of thinking. You go, okay, is this helpful? Is this true? And how can I think more positively? So try stoic thinking instead. Now, stoic thinking is thinking about what could be worse and what can you be grateful for in this situation. So instead of thinking about everything that has gone in your head wrong, because it hasn't worked out exactly as you planned, think, well, it could be worse because this could have happened, and actually, therefore, I can be grateful that this didn't happen. And how is this thinking helping me? That's so important. Recognizing how this ditch of thinking, how making one little mistake your whole story isn't actually helping you. It doesn't allow you to progress. It doesn't allow you to grow. It just holds you back, and it makes you smaller, and it stops you from trying things, and it stops you from believing in yourself. So these are really helpful questions to ask. What could be worse? What can I be grateful for? And how is this negative thinking actually helping me? And when you can recognize it isn't, then you can go, okay, so what thinking can I try out instead? So then we come to flipping the negative. So challenge all those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And because negative thoughts, ironically, have much more weight in our brains, we believe them a lot easier. It's really unfortunate that we're just programmed to do it like that. But for every negative, you need to think 3 positives to be able to counterbalance that negative thinking. So if you're thinking, okay, oh, it's awful, I've done everything wrong, then you need to go, okay, I have done this right today. Actually, that went really well. I got up this morning. I've been for a run. I smiled at my partner over breakfast, and I made her laugh when I said a joke. Just all sorts of little things. They don't have to be massive things, but for every negative, you need to have 3 positives to counterbalance that. And they can be any things. It doesn't have to be massive things. It can be, I had breakfast this morning. That's the thing. I had breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and I did that. I'm taking time to watch this video for myself today. So it doesn't have to be a massive, I climbed Mount Everest. Just like a simple, yeah, I did something good to outweigh that something that's making you feel a bit more negative. So how can you cope? Because often we can go into a spiral when things go wrong or not as we perceive them or want them to go. So that's the most important thing, trying not to label things as wrong and recognise that it's learning. Recognise that it's just because we had an expectation of how we wanted things to work out and it didn't work out that way, but that's actually okay because we can learn from this experience. So take time to accept what has happened as it happened. Yeah, you might have fallen off the wagon. You might have had a drink when you're trying to stay sober. You might have had a bit of a meltdown and smashed some stuff up. That's okay. That's in the past now. It's happened. It's done. You actually can't change that event that has happened. What you can do is change how you go forward and affect how you go forward in the future. So just accept it and go, okay, that happened. I'm not really happy about that, and I'm accepting it. I'm accepting that that happened then, and I can't change that, but I can change what I do going forward. So then think about, well, what could you have done differently? How, if this happened again in the future, could you go, okay, I noticed that actually I fell into that pattern then, and I could have reached out. I could have asked someone to help me. I could have asked for a little bit more support. That would have helped me and would have meant that I didn't have that drink. Or I could have tried pummeling a pillow instead of smashing things. Like what could I have done differently? Or even if it was just like something smaller than that, what could you have done differently in that situation that would have made everything feel a bit better? So what have you learned from the experience? What have you learned about yourself and it's all useful? It's noticing, okay, so actually that's a major trigger for me. That means that I just need to be more mindful in those situations. Or if I find myself in a situation like that, I need to know how I'm going to deal with it so that I don't have a repetition of this. So you can really learn from the event. You can go, okay, so that didn't work, but or if you're trying a goal, if you're trying to lose some weight or you're trying to get yourself ready for a half marathon, okay, I hate getting up to run at 6. Getting up to run before work isn't the one for me. Every day this week I've pressed snooze, I haven't got up. That doesn't work. Okay, what is going to work? I've learned that doing it in the morning doesn't work for me. How about I try after work? I take my stuff to work with me and I do a run straight away from work when I get home. So I've already changed into my gear. I can't get out of it. So it's just learning and then taking that forward in a different way. And brush it off. Like changing our physiology when something's gone wrong is really important. So physically imagine like brushing yourself down. Brush down one arm, brush down the other arm, brush down your body, brush down your legs, and just brush all the stress, the tension of that mistake that we're calling it off. It's gone. Let it go, because every experience makes us who we are today. If you change even the smallest, tiniest thing in your life, the butterfly effect would take over and your whole world could be changed. You might not be with the partner you're with. You might not have the kids you've got. Like, it's a massive thing. So recognize that everything makes us part of who we are, even the negatives, because we can learn from them and we can grow from them. And go and do something else. Take your mind off it, something really distracting. Go for a walk, do some exercise, do a hobby, something that's really gonna take your mind off it and really focus all your concentration on something else. So you're not sitting, dwelling, you've let it go, you've brushed it off, and now you can get on with your day in a positive way. So something creative is always good for that. So recognize that these are really important steps. Once you've done that, you might want to just take a quick screenshot of this. It's quite a useful one. Be kind to yourself. This is the biggest one. So be kind, accept that it's happened. You're going to grow, you're going to move on from this, and that's brilliant. So mistakes are painful when they happen, but years later, collection of mistakes called experience, which leads us to success. That is amazing. Like, everything makes us who we are. So all those mistakes led to the light bulb. All those mistakes led to someone becoming president. Like, all those little things add up to actually go, do you know what? I've learned from that. I've grown. That's changed me. So be kind, go away, have a great day, enjoy your day, and thank you for taking time for yourself today. That is a big win, a big tick. So well done. Bye.